Welcome back, beloved Secrets Behind the Stars family, the place where glitter meets heartbeat and where the red carpet whispers become confessions you can almost touch. Tonight, I'm asking you to settle in, because what we're about to relive together isn't just another headline or a harmless rumor. It's a revelation, the kind that folds a life in two and gives us a before and an after. We're flying to Riyadh, to a night of thunderous applause and shimmering chandeliers, where a look, a tremble in the voice, and a sentence spoken from the depths of a heart reframed the love story of Gökberk Yildirim and Cemre Arda. Before we open that door, make sure you're subscribed, ring that bell so every secret lands right in your hands, and if you believe love can still catch you by surprise, join the insiders here on Secrets Behind the Stars and support this family that breathes emotion. There are moments that rearrange everything you thought you knew. For Gökberk, that moment came under the blinding beams of an international awards night in Riyadh, where prestige is currency and confidence walks like royalty. He stood there amid the glimmer, the applause swelling like a tide, and watched the woman he loved stride onto the stage as if the world had been carved to fit her. The city glittered, the hall hushed, and somewhere inside him, something shifted. He didn't make a scene. He didn't need to. His silence told its own story, one that would later pour out in words he couldn't hold back. Let's step back to that unforgettable instant. Cemre had been the name on everyone's lips even before the ceremony began. The dress, sleek, sculpted, alive under the lights, and the way it married her poise, her self-assured grace, the glow that comes only when talent meets preparation. Photographers lunged for the perfect frame, capturing fabric, flash, and fire in her eyes, but there was a gaze that saw more than any lens could. It was the gaze of Gökberk, steady, anchored, unable to drift. He wasn't scanning the room or waiting for his moment, he was seeing the person who had stolen his sleep and rewired his compass. Some say the clock slowed. I say two hearts made their own rhythm in a room that had forgotten how to breathe. Days later, back in Istanbul, the buzz had cooled, but curiosity never sleeps. Reporters gathered like seagulls on a shore of headlines, and one voice climbed over the others with the question everyone had been aching to ask. What ran through your mind when you saw Cemre on that stage? For a heartbeat, Gökberk didn't answer. You could see the memory flicker behind his eyes, more vivid than anything a camera could replay. Then his expression softened, the edges of fame falling away, and he spoke with a candor that made people lean in. He didn't try to be grand. He didn't recite lines. He simply let truth spill. He described how her presence filled the hall, not with noise but with command, not with pretense but with the quiet power that comes when a woman knows she has earned every inch of her success. And then he put it into words that unsettled the tabloids and calmed his heart. That night, in Riyadh, he understood he could never allow Cemre to slip from his life. From that sentence, the world built its headlines. But he didn't stop with a romantic flourish. He talked about the grind, the discipline that never makes it into glossy spreads, the rehearsals that refuse to end, the scripts marked in midnight ink, the doubts she wrestled down without anybody clapping. He said he had watched her grow from bright to blazing, from promise to presence, and that what dazzled him wasn't only her beauty, though let's be honest, Riyadh saw how the lights adored her. It was the steel threaded through her grace, the intellect that steers her choices, the seriousness with which she honors her craft. He said being close to that kind of flame made him want to be better, calmer, braver. He said he wanted to stand beside her and reflect that light back at her so she always knew she was seen. The internet did what the internet does. Clips of his answer ricocheted across timelines, stitched into edits and slowed so you could hear the tremor in his tone. A still frame of his eyes on her, chin tilted, breath held, went viral as the look of pride. Comment sections filled with disbelief, relief, hope. Is this how men speak when their hearts are safe? Is this how love sounds when it isn't a performance but a pledge? Fans called it a rare sighting of the real, the kind of devotion people had started to treat like folklore. And yes, the noise drew out the whispers, too. You know how it is. Someone always claims it's strategy. Someone always insists it's theater. But the thing about truth is that it pulls your shoulders down and makes your voice softer. That's what we saw. Inside the industry, the murmurs were even warmer. Friends of the couple, those who have watched the two of them weave a life from stolen weekends and snatched mornings, say that in private Gökberk echoed the same words, maybe even more plainly. He called it an honor to walk with Cemre as her star expanded, and he said their bond had thickened, not thinned, under the pressure. You know what that means, the speculation machine roared to life. Is this the prelude to a question asked on bended knee? Are we inches away from a ring that will blind the cameras more than any chandelier ever could? No confirmation, of course. Just that sigh of happiness he couldn't hide, the way her name felt heavy and holy in his mouth. Now, here at Secrets Behind the Stars, we live for the detail that slips through the cracks. So let me tell you what the official coverage didn't highlight. Before the ceremony even started, when nerves can turn a room cold, he was her constant. While stylists moved like a small army and the air hummed with last-minute decisions, he found her hands and steadied them. He told her, firmly and without pomp, that she didn't need luck because she had done the work. He reminded her that applause is an echo, not a destination. And just before she walked toward that stage, he pressed their fingers together and said, "You deserve what's about to happen." Not as a charm, but as a fact. The moment she stepped off with the award, the hallway behind the curtains turned into a story nobody had planned to tell. He reached her first, as if his feet had known the path hours before. People around them swear his eyes glossed with unshed tears. He drew her in like a harbor draws a storm-tossed ship, not to hide her but to hold her. "I'm so proud of you," he kept repeating, as if that sentence were a spell he needed to cast over both of them. He wasn't posing. There were no prepared angles. He was a man who had watched the woman he loves command a room and wanted to be the first home she found when the echo faded. When the questions returned days later, he spoke not just as a partner but as a colleague who respects the grind. He said he had witnessed the years reshape her, that where there had once been potential there now stood force. He described Cemre as the kind of artist who builds cathedrals people can feel but can't quite explain, and the kind of woman whose compass points to integrity even when shortcuts glitter. That's the line that melted the last of the cynics. Because admiration like that isn't about possession, it's about recognition. And you can't fake recognition. It lives in the specifics. Late-night rewrites, scenes that bruise, the decision to be gracious when the room dares you to be small. After Riyadh, insiders say the two of them made an old promise new again, to ring-fence time, no matter the flight schedules, no matter the scripts waiting to be read, no matter the requests that rain down when you're the couple everybody wants to see. You know how fragile egos can be in this world. Yet what struck people close to them is how unafraid he seemed of her assent. Not only did he refuse to shrink, he pushed her forward. He was the cheer in the wings and the quiet in the car ride home. He didn't count minutes or monitor applause. He let her victory stand, and then he built a platform under them with his own steady hands. And that's when the future started tapping on the door. When a man says, in front of cameras and consequences, that he'll never let go, the imagination writes scenes faster than any screenwriter can. The speculation grew a crown and started marching, dinner reservations at suspiciously romantic tables, a jeweler seen smiling too widely, a weekend blocked out on both calendars like a secret coded in plain sight. No one is confirming, mind you. They're just moving in that unhurried way that makes you think everything important is already decided, and the rest will catch up when it's supposed to. But let's pull the focus back to the feeling that made the world pause. Isn't it rare, in a noisy age, to watch love become quiet and sure? Isn't it moving to see two people refuse the poison of comparison and choose, instead, the antidote of celebration? That's what Riyadh was, beneath the lights and beyond the applause. A renewal of vows that hadn't been spoken aloud, a private promise that borrowed a public room for one night. The photos are beautiful. The headlines are loud. But the memory that will last is a woman owning her space and a man choosing to be the wind at her back instead of a shadow at her side. Now, family, a question for your hearts. Do you believe success can deepen affection, or does it sometimes plant seeds of rivalry? Watching Gökberk look at Cemre, I think we got our answer. His admiration didn't shrink him, it lifted them both. Tell me what you think in the comments, because this community is at its best when we think out loud together, when we share the stories that taught us to love better, and when we remind each other that joy multiplies when it's named. In the days that followed, the avalanche of reactions didn't bury them, it crowned them. Fans wrote letters, threaded posts, sent old-fashioned notes with ink that bled a little when tears fell. They thanked him for being a mirror that didn't distort and thanked her for walking like dignity can be glamorous. You could feel the hunger for examples that tell us ambition and tenderness don't have to be enemies. And if you looked closely, you could see the couple move through the noise with grace, acknowledging the love without feeding the frenzy, keeping what mattered where it belonged, between them. Here's another secret from behind that night's velvet ropes. In the hours before the ceremony, when the final fittings were done and the room was briefly quiet, he took a photo of her on his phone, nothing staged, just a beam of light on her shoulder and the look she gets when she's about to step into destiny like it's a doorway she built herself. Later, after the interview that shook the gossip machine awake, he set that picture as his lock screen. It's a small thing, I know. But love is stitched from small things, and they hold. As for Cemre, the world may have seen only a coy smile when asked about his declaration, but those who know her say she carried his words like a talisman for days. Not because she needed his validation to stand tall, she has always stood tall, but because it is a rare blessing to be admired by the person who knows the parts of your story that don't shimmer. The adrenaline of that night faded, as it always does. The trophy found its place on a shelf. But the phrase he spoke, shaped differently, perhaps, every time it left his lips, kept echoing between them like a soft drum. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We're in this. So where does the story go from here? Toward patience, I suspect. Toward the kind of steady that doesn't beg for applause. If a proposal is coming, it will arrive with the same grace that has defined this chapter, private first, shared only when it has settled into their bones. And if there are rings in the future, let them be symbols of something that already exists, a partnership that has been tested by airports and early calls, by scenes that didn't land and scripts that did, by the tension between two demanding careers and one soft, determined love. Tonight, as we close the book on this chapter, let's hold the lesson that walked off that Riyadh stage and into our living rooms. Real love doesn't compete. Real love claps the loudest. It fixes the hairpin, steadies the breath, and says go be magnificent and I'll meet you when the lights dim. That's what we witnessed when Gökberk lifted his head and let the truth escape. He didn't lose anything by praising her. He found a deeper place to stand. And in a world that teaches us to hoard the spotlight, that kind of generosity feels almost rebellious. This is Secrets Behind the Stars, signing off with full hearts and tear-bright eyes. Tell me the most romantic gesture you've ever dared, or the kindest one you've received when nobody was watching. Do you see in Gökberk and Cemre the couple of the year, or are they something even more valuable, the reminder that fame can shimmer without swallowing the people who wear it? If this story brushed your soul, tap that like, subscribe for the truths behind the sparkle, and join our members for the treasures we can only share in the inner circle. Thank you for being our compass, for believing in love's stubborn endurance, and for giving us a family that understands why these moments matter. Until the next secret, keep your eyes on the light and your heart brave enough to follow it.